think the Labour Party's forward offer on economic issues is also very important in this election. There are three major redistributive taxes which the party are proposing to introduce. The 50p top rate of tax being introduced for earners who earn £150,000 a year or more. The mansion tax, which will be a tax payable on properties with a value in excess of £2 million, and the reintroduction of the banker's bonus tax, which is designed to produce £2 billion so that we can reinvest that money in a compulsory jobs guarantee, so that every 18 to 24-year-old who has been on GSA for a year, or everybody over 24 who's been on GSA for over 2 years, will be offered a compulsory job to get them back into the field of work where they will earn money, but there's a clue in the title, it's compulsory, and if somebody doesn't want to partake in the compulsory jobs guarantee, that will put their benefits at jeopardy as well. So this is a contract which we're offering to help people get back into work. Everybody's got to play their part in this, and I think this will be a vital part in reinstilling the work ethic, but also getting people back into permanent jobs. The three redistributive taxes are very important because they will gather tax intake from London and the South East, and through the Barnett formula Scotland will benefit to a significant degree from that tax take, and that will allow Scotland to determine how to spend that money, and we think there's significant benefit from this, and it will allow us to deliver something like 1,000 new nurses, build 100,000 new homes, and of course the compulsory jobs guarantee, which will get 18 to 24-year-olds who have been on GSA for a year, and 24-year-olds and over who've been on GSA for 2 years back into work. That's how we tackle getting people off welfare, not sanctioning them, getting them into work. That's the real way forward for the future. The Labour Party is also committed to freezing energy prices. And in doing so, we'll freeze the price for 17 months whilst we introduce a new regulator who will be able to force retail prices down when wholesale prices drop. And that's a regular complaint that we see, that price drops are slow in working their way through into household bills. We will give the regulator the power to make that happen, and in doing so, through that freeze for 17 months, we'll obviously save money for every family and every business in Scotland. The Labour Party is committed to ensuring that the minimum wage rises to at least £8 an hour by the end of the next Parliament. That will be significant to help working families and individuals the length and breadth of the United Kingdom. And when you consider that between 2010 and 2015 the minimum wage only rose 70 pence per hour, we're talking about doubling that level of increase by the end of the next Parliament. Likewise, we are absolutely committed to extending access to the living wage, so the government contracts carry with them a responsibility for people who gain these government contracts to pay the living wage. So again, we can see living standards increase in households throughout the United Kingdom. Add on to that our commitment to ban exploitative zero-hour contracts, contracts where people have been in regular employment for a regular number of hours, but are still maintained on a zero-hour contract, which prevents them having any forward commitment in what they can do with their life. It gives them difficulties in managing household budgets, but it also gives them difficulties, for instance, if they wanted to go for a mortgage or a loan of any nature. On a zero-hour contract, they're not going to be able to comply with the regulations to gather such things that many of us take for granted. However, we will make sure that we ban these exploitative contracts and people get a fair crack for the job that they do. So if they're employed regularly, that should not be on a zero-hour contract. We also hear about the SNP's plans for full fiscal autonomy, but we know from scrutiny that those plans have been put under, from even the Scottish Government's own JERS report, from the Scottish Affairs Select Committee, and also from the Institute for Fiscal Studies, that full fiscal autonomy could cost Scotland up to £8 billion per year. That's £8 billion coming out of the Scotland budget. That's something equivalent to the whole pension budget in Scotland. And the reason why that money would be a shortfall in Scotland is because full fiscal autonomy is so clearly built on a high oil price, which we are not able to enjoy at this point in time. So the whole case of full fiscal autonomy is very, very vulnerable and would only be a particular drawback to people in Scotland, especially if it was going to cost the country something like £8 billion a year. Well, that was a short video about the Labour Party campaign in Oakland, South Perthshire, a little bit about me, some information on the policies the Labour Party wants to introduce after the general election on the 7th of May. I hope that you think that was useful and the information contained in it was of value. It certainly is what we seem to be finding on the doorstep, and they certainly do seem to be the issues which are resonating with voters. On the 7th of May in Oakland, South Perthshire, it's a two-horse race. It's either the SNP or myself who are going to win this election, and I hope that my track record is good enough for you to consider lending me your support and your vote on the 7th of May so that my staff and I can continue to work hard on your behalf. Thank you very much.